Pluckley Village, a true tale of ghosts and the supernatural. Nestled deep in the Kent countryside, Pluckley Village is often referred to as one of the most haunted places in England. With its picturesque cottages, centuries-old church and sprawling farmland, it might appear to be a charming, peaceful village at first glance, but those familiar with its history know that Pluckley has a dark side, a place steeped in tragedy, death, and restless spirits. The village has earned its eerie reputation through a long history of ghostly sightings, unsettling experiences, and tales of tragic deaths, many of which are said to have left their mark on the land and the people who once called it home. There are stories that go back centuries, stories that still linger in the night air, carried on the breeze that blows across the fields. The ghosts of Pluckley are not merely figments of local legend. They are tied to events that are deeply rooted in the village's history. The spirits that haunt this place are not at peace, and they continue to walk the land as if searching for something they lost, or perhaps something they never had. Pluckley has had a long and rich history stretching back to Roman times, but it is in the centuries that followed that the village's tragic tales truly began to take shape. Throughout the years, Pluckley has been a place where accidents, murders, and untimely deaths have been disturbingly frequent, and many believe that these events are cause of the ghosts that still haunt the area today. One of the most well-known aspects of Pluckley's history is its association with the local manorial estate, which dates back to medieval times. Over the centuries, the estate has seen a variety of owners, some of whom are believed to have met grisly ends. Among them was a cruel landowner in the 16th century who was said to have imprisoned and mistreated his tenants, eventually dying in a manner so horrific that his spirit remained tied to the village. In addition to this, there are stories of tragic accidents that occurred in and around Pluckley, particularly in the local woods. Tales speak of people being lost, wandering into dense forest and never returning, or of unfortunate travellers who met their deaths along the old roads. These deaths, often untimely and unexplained, have lent themselves to the belief that the souls of the lost are still trapped in the village, unable to move on. Pluckley's reputation as a haunted village has persisted for centuries, and even today it is known as one of the most paranormally active places in the country. Visitors often report strange phenomena such as sudden temperature drops, the feeling of being watched, and inexplicable sounds, but it is the ghostly apparitions that truly give Pluckley its eerie reputation. These apparitions are said to be the spirits of those who met violent or tragic ends, their unfinished business forever binding them to the village. One of the most famous ghosts of Pluckley is that of the highwayman who is said to have haunted the area near the village's old crossroads. The story goes that the highwayman, a notorious robber, was captured and executed on the spot after a violent confrontation. His body was left hanging as a warning to others, but his spirit is said to remain trapped in the place where he died. Several witnesses have reported seeing a shadowy figure dressed in old-fashioned clothing, moving silently along the roads at night. The figure is said to walk the same path the highwayman did in life, stopping at the crossroads before disappearing into thin air. Some have claimed to hear the clinking of coins or the soft jingle of the highwayman's reins, only to look up and find no one in sight. Others claim to have heard the sound of galloping hooves in the dead of night, followed by the distinct image of a man in a cloak riding past. The spirit of the highwayman is said to be forever bound to the road where he once lived, his spirit caught in an endless loop of death and vengeance. Another well-known apparition is that of the White Lady, who is believed to be the ghost of a young woman who died tragically during childbirth many years ago. The story goes that the woman, a local villager, was married to a man who was away fighting a distant war. While he was gone, she fell pregnant, and during the difficult childbirth, both the mother and child perished. Her spirit, dressed in a flowing white gown, is said to wander the village in search of her lost child. She has been seen standing near the churchyard, gazing mournfully at the graves of her family, or drifting near the old oak tree where she once played as a child. Those who have seen her describe her as a tragic, sorrowful figure, her face obscured by a veil of mist or fog. Some report feeling a deep sense of sadness when she appears, as if the very air around her is heavy with grief. Her ghost is often accompanied by an overwhelming sense of loss, and it is believed that she is searching for her child's spirit, hoping to reunite with her loved one in the afterlife. The White Lady has become a symbol of the tragedy and sorrow that have defined the history of Pluckley. Another ghostly figure frequently seen in Pluckley is the Red Lady, whose story is one of betrayal and murder. According to the legend, the Red Lady was a beautiful young woman who had fallen in love with a man from the village. However, her lover was unfaithful, and when she discovered the truth, she was heartbroken. In her grief and anger, she confronted him, and in a fit of rage, killed him. As a result of her crime, the woman was condemned to death, but she never had the chance to pay for her sins. On the day she was supposed to be executed, she mysteriously disappeared, and some say she died a tragic death, her spirit trapped in an eternal search for redemption. The Red Lady is said to be a shadowy figure who appears at dusk, her red dress flowing behind her as she walks the old roads of the village. Those who encountered her claim to feel a sense of dread or unease as she passes, as if her presence is a warning. Her ghost is described as a vengeful spirit, seeking retribution for the crime she committed in life. The Pluckley Churchyard and the Screams of the Lost. The Pluckley Churchyard is another location that is said to be haunted by the spirits of the village's past. Many locals have reported hearing the sound of faint whispers and muffled footsteps around the graves, and others claim to hear the disembodied voices of children laughing or crying late at night. But the most chilling phenomena are the occasional screams that echo through the graveyard. The source of the screams remain a mystery, but they are often linked to the souls of those who were lost or forgotten. Some believe that these are the cries of the unburied, the ones whose body were never given a proper resting place, or those whose spirits were too troubled to move on. Despite the many ghost stories that surround it, Pluckley remains a tranquil village, with its narrow streets, old cottages, and peaceful countryside. However, for those who know its dark history, the village holds a chilling presence, a reminder that the past is never truly gone. The ghosts of Pluckley are not simply figments of imagination, but spirits bound to the land of sorrow, tragedy, and violence. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the air around Pluckley seems heavy with the memories of those who have long since passed, and their restless souls continue to haunt the village, ensuring that Pluckley's reputation as one of the most haunted places in England endures. For anyone brave enough to visit, the village offers a glimpse into a past that is far from forgotten, and the shadows of the lost and the damned are never too far behind.